Okay, this is gonna be a bit. Okay, so first off, a class is basically a object. I don't need to. I don't want to go too in depth on what exactly an object means, but all you need to know is that it's a thing that like contains data and like contains different functionalities and whatnot. Um, the main class is basically like the primary thing that runs like when the program starts. Like any code that is in the main class will be running forever in the application until you close it. Then same thing goes for this right here. This is what's known as a method, big, which is basically just a big, like, container, like, that has a bunch of code in it. So then under here we have these two called final int width and final int height. Final. So first off, this is a well, technically these aren't variables, but just for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna call them variables. So basically, variables can contain different like data types. It can contain like integers, like you see here. It can contain decimal numbers, which are known as floats or doubles. And it can contain, and then it can also contain just regular text known as strings. But that's what that means. But final pretty much means that these are constant, which means they cannot change after they are first defined. So then after this, we define a couple of more variables. These are the custom ones that I made. New basically means it is a new instance of a particular object. All of these right here are custom objects that I created. Oh, that I accidentally commented that. Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. But anyway, so then there is this. It just adds these and listens for input and whatever. The main one so frame.add is part of a actually no, I should explain what these mean after I explain what these are. So first we have the label class. So up here you see import blah 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 blah. These are basically just importing frameworks and libraries, which are basically it's basically just a collection of code that somebody already made so that I don't have to make these from scratch because otherwise I would have to make these from scratch and I would have been here for a lot longer than I actually was. It is not cheating. This is just standard, and anybody who says, if you don't if you use libraries or frameworks you're not a real programmer, those people are fucking idiots, because if somebody already made it and it works, I'm gonna use it. But anyway, you can just kind of ignore these. So we have another class called a label, and it extends JLabel. Extends basically means that that it is a child of a different class. So for example, JLabel comes from this import right here, and pretty much it has like a bunch of functionalities that are useful for making like text appear on a screen, like just regular ass text, nothing fancy. But then basically, yeah, like extends basically just makes it so that it inherits from a different class. But yeah, so then there's this thing that says public label, and then there's an argument right here. This is what's known as a constructor. Basically, so remember how it showed new and then frame? In the context of label in particular, basically you can kind of think of these as functions for creating a new class. So when new label is called, all of this code is ran on the new label that was just created. So it sets the text to whatever string you put in here. It sets the bounds to this, boop, boop, boop. This sets the coordinates, and these two set the size of the label. And then this just sets the font, just Arial, bold, and size 20. And then there's frame. A lot of the same stuff you're seeing here. These are actually variables right here because they don't have the final keyword. And yeah, like here's just a regular constructor. This dot width and this dot height basically set the wait, no, never mind. But anyway, these go to, actually I don't even think I need these anymore, but whatever. So there's this method right here called the set size method, which takes width and height as arguments. Basically, it's just for setting the window size. This is a window. And then set default close operation. This is more or less a debug thing, but when I run the code, it will exit the code when I close the window rather than having the code continue to run. Set resizable is false. It basically means I can't do this with the, hold on, it basically just means like I can't do this with the window. Like I just can't resize it. Set visible equals true because or set visible true, which, you know, obviously like you need to do this in order to be able to see the window. Set layout null. I don't exactly know what this means. Yeah, I don't really know what this means. I'll just look at it later. And then set title, it sets the title of the window in the corner. Then finally, button, it's a lot of the same shit that you saw before. Set bounds to this, coordinates, width, height, whatever, and then the text set. And then now on to this shit right here. These two are just for adding stuff to the frame. So it adds the label, it adds the button, and then this right here basically just, makes it so it does something when the button's pressed. So in this case, it sets the label's text to something else, and yeah, that's how this whole thing works.